During this session, the fourth session related to Introduction to Inventory and Materials Management, this is the introductory lecture sessions. I will be referring to two other issues, namely the types of inventory and product positioning strategies. For marketing a product, for selling a product, there could be there could be different types of product positioning strategy you may adopt, and depending on what type of product positioning strategy you adopt, you need to create the different types of inventories. So the types of inventories you like to have in a particular, say, the manufacturing systems of the production systems, very much dependent on what kind of product positioning strategies you have opted for. So this issue we'll be discussing in depth, and the next we'll bring in a very important the concept or the very important issue, that is to what extent the inventory management affects the financial performance of an organization. Okay, so there are the clear cut there must be a clear cut understanding about this relationship. Okay, so and once you are convinced about this relationship, then you will come to know that how important for a company is materials management. Now let us talk about the product positioning strategies. Manufacturing companies may have different the strategies for product manufacturing and selling. Okay, so I will highlight some of the important product positioning strategies. There are many, in fact. Now these strategies are referred to as the product positioning strategies. That means when you try to get the product, what you need to do, you have to follow a particular process. That means from the raw materials to the finished good stage. That means you must have say the upstream stages and the downstream stages till you get the finished product. Now it may so happen that you have created a manufacturing system in such a way that the certain stages you don't have, or you don't need to have certain stages, either because of because of certain you don't want to have those stages because your inadequacy in knowledge, or it could be a corporate strategy, so that I will be only focusing on assembly part, I'll not be bothering about manufacturing, or I will be bothering about the manufacturing. The design part I'm not aware of, so I will bring the design from some other source. But once the design is made available, I'll go for manufacturing, and then subsequently I'll go for assembly, and then I may produce these assemblies to stock. That means I will assume that it may sell today, but definitely it will sell tomorrow. That means it is a mass produced item. There is a constant demand. Is it okay? So the produce to stock, and you create the stock, and subsequent in the time periods, these stocks will be depleted. So that could be your assumptions, and that could be your strategy. In other cases, you say that I will produce to the order. That means for the given product, I will be getting the order, and as per the order requirements, I will produce the inventory, I will manufacture it, and I will get the assembly or the final product, and I will send those assemblies or those products to the persons or to the companies the placing the orders. So you come across different different kinds of situations and the different kinds of the decisions you take, like whether you will go for manufacturing, will go for design and all. So these are referred to as the product positioning strategies that have a bearing on the kinds of inventory to be stocked and processed. Okay, so whether you need raw materials inventory or you need WIP inventory, whether you need finished goods inventories, whether you need MRO inventories or not. So this all depends on what kind of product positioning strategy you will be using. There may be many types of product positioning strategies, as I have been telling you. Some of the important product positioning strategies are make to stock, that is one. Assemble to order. I am not going for manufacturing. Okay, I am not going for making it. Is it okay? I will just get the items from some other sources, outside supply, and then I will do the assembly and I will send it against a particular order. Make to order. I get the order and I will manufacture. Next one is engineer to order. I will get the order. Now I will start the engineering process. That means maybe the design process, right? So the new design you have to create for that particular order. So this could be one strategy. Now obviously the kinds of inventories you will be dealing with for these strategies, say make to stock, will be different than the kinds of inventories you are supposed to deal with when you adopt engineer to order positioning strategy. So let me explain in brief all these the four strategies. So these strategies are very common, and there could be many other combinations of sub strategies. Okay, a company may have so the different the product divisions. It may have a product mix, and not only one product. It could be a multi-product manufacturing firms, or it could be a single product manufacturing firm. For the single product manufacturing firm, just one at a particular point in time, just one particular strategy they hold on. Okay, maybe in the next the year or the next the planning period, they may adopt to the new strategy, but usually just at any point in time they will be following just one strategy. Is it okay? So the more or less their inventory control system remains a stable one. Whereas supposing it's a multi-product manufacturing firms, and for each suppose you have in your the product mix, so there are 5 types of products, 5 types of divisions. So each division may have, depending on the type of product and whether it is a jobbing industry or the mass produced industries, so you may have different types of marketing strategies. So what you try to do, that means the division wise or the product wise, you try to create a separate inventory or materials management systems. Yes, there could be some commonalities, there could be some the common features, but essentially in this particular case, the kinds of materials management systems or the inventory management systems you create for a specific product, it ultimately it becomes a unique one, right? So first, make to stock. What actually you do? That means it concerns availability of finished goods when orders is received. That's it. That means your main controlling aspect is the finished goods. Is it okay? That means at the right point in time, whether you are in a position to the supply the finished goods in the required quantity as per the order. Okay, so that is or make to stock. That means you are stocking it, assuming that in course of time this stock will be depleted. That means the some demand will occur. So this is the make to stock. Second one is assemble to order. I get the order. but I don't have any manufacturing facilities. So what I do, I get it imported, I get all the parts imported, and I do the assembly. Is it okay? So this is one example of assembly to order. Concerns assembly, only I do assembly of a group of parts or the sub-assemblies available as inventory when order is received. Now that means I am not bothering about the raw materials inventory management systems. Okay, in many cases I may not be bothering about even the WIP inventory control. Make to order. This is make to stock. That means is mass produced. Here make to order concerns manufacturing of parts and assembly for the final product in inventory when order is received. That means you start manufacturing. When you get the order, you start manufacturing it. Design is already known. Okay, you don't need to work on the design and the engineering aspect. So that design is frozen. I need to start my manufacturing, and for that the types of materials required or the types of inventory requires, that definitely you must have control on all those materials, and you start producing. Okay, so you have a production control, and parallelly you must have a material control. Okay, so last one is the engineer to order. Then it concerns design and manufacture of specialty products, the special one, with required inventory as per order requirements. So we have these 4 strategies: make to stock, assemble to order, make to order, engineer to order. Is it okay? There could be assemble to stock, there could be assemble to order. It's okay. So there could be many other such strategies you may adopt. Now, so this aspect to be considered, and because this will affect the flow of materials, what kind of the flow of materials you have within your manufacturing systems. Now let us talk about an important issue in this particular lecture session, that is the inventory management and the financial performance. As I have been telling you that the inventory management systems or the materials management system is closely linked with the company's the performance. Now the now there are 2 dimensions, so the 2 ways you look at a company's performance. One is the operational performance, and the second one is the financial performance. Now the first thing you need to establish, that at this point in time, to what extent your inventory control systems or inventory management systems, materials management systems is contributing to the financial performance of the systems. Is it okay? So that relationship you have to establish. Now, so obviously you must have as an inventory management expert, you must have enough expertise or knowledge about the financial management systems. At least you must know that how the financial performance system is measured and the evaluated. So this evaluation you must know. In any organization, financial performance is closely linked with inventory management. If inventory management is poor, financial management performance goes down. There are numerous such cases. In fact, one of the main reasons that why a company may go for or they may become sick or out of the market. So it just it goes to the blue. So one of the main reasons is, there are 2 specific reasons in majority of the cases. The first reason is that your marketing function, marketing and market research is not working adequately, efficiently. That is the first reason. And the second reason is, obviously your materials management the system is its performance is very poor, and if it remains the poor consistently, obviously the company's performance, financial performance will be hard hit. There are many such cases and we should be aware of. That means at any point in time you must know that to what extent your inventory management system is affecting the financial performance. Now, an efficient inventory management ensures a healthy working capital. Is it okay? So you just you must know that what is this working capital. Is it okay? Just you find out that what is its definition, what do you mean by the working capital, and later on we'll get few cases where you will come to know that how the working capital is affected by the inventory management system. So this is a very important issue. For continual assessment of financial performance, this is a must. Two important documents are prepared at regular intervals as per statutory obligation and reviewed for understanding the growth or decline of financial health of any organization or company. So I repeat, that means there are two documents you need to create, and these two documents you create as per statutory obligation, and when you get these documents, now you thoroughly study these documents, the contents of these documents, for understanding the growth or decline of financial health of any organization, of a company. Is it all right? Now, these two documents, one is the balance sheet and the second one is the profit and loss statement. So what is the balance sheet? Balance sheet, actually it equates assets with liabilities at any instant of time, and the owner's equity, that means the equating assets with liabilities and owner's equity at any instant of time. That means as on 31st of March. Okay, so the balance sheet is created. There are many items in the balance sheet. You get there the figures or the values, and you must be able to interpret them. And when you start interpreting these values, now you get a feel that whether my inventory system is running all right or not. Is it okay? So if you find that the inventory system is working as per the norms or it is improving, there will be reflected in the balance sheet related items and their values. Profit and loss statement representing relationship between sales and profit during a period of time. Say for 6 months you create a profit and loss statement, and the whole year from the 1st of April to 31st of March next year you create your profit and loss statement. Is it okay? So where if you look at those items, that means from how to what extent the sales is related to your profit, profit after tax, profit before tax, okay, profit before interest and tax. Okay, so all these details you get and you try to interpret. While the interpretation is on, now you also start interpreting, the directly or indirectly the what you can say, the performance of your inventory or materials management systems. Is it okay? Along with many other systems, definitely, but the core issue here is that to what extent your financial performance is related to inventory control systems. So inventory, being one of the current assets, as you are aware of, significantly affects the performance in both counts. Okay. So now this is an example. This is a typical balance sheet. So what you have on the left hand side, you have the current asset, and there are 4 types of current assets. Cash and securities, the first one. The second one is the accounts receivable, and the third item is the inventory, and the fourth item is prepaid expenses. Is it okay? Now, always this order is maintained. There is a reason for this one. So I'll ask you to find out the reason. It is not that the inventory you write it over here, right? Or the cash and securities you write it over here at the fourth place. So there is a reason for this one. Is it okay? So this is the current asset. So the inventory is an asset. Sometimes we make a statement that inventory is essential, but we say that it is inventory is also an evil. So sometimes we say the inventory is a necessary evil. Just make a note that sometimes inventory is treated as a necessary evil. It is necessary because without inventory you cannot run the production, right? So at any point in time when we look at the production system, essentially you looking at different kinds of inventories. But if you lose control on inventory, what will happen? That means the entire system will fall apart. That means the entire system will be sick. Okay, so you have to produce. You have to terminate your the production system. There's no other way. So no way out. So if you have enough stock, okay, more than enough, some extra inventory suppose, okay, and you don't bother about the amount of inventory which you have, and you have huge amount of overstock, excess. You need the one machine. That is your requirement per month. Now you have enough money. What you have done, that you have installed 4 more machines. So you don't bother about when you have extra inventory. You don't bother about the maintenance of the inventory, say the capital equipment. So slowly you will find that as you feel that you have the alternatives, in course of time very quickly all the 4 machines or the 6 machines, okay, or the 10 machines, they are in the breakdown conditions. Whereas if you have just one machine, what you will find that that if it is not in working condition, so you are going to lose. Okay, you can't, your whole production system will stop. So what you opt for, so you try to create the best possible preventive maintenance schedule for such an equipment, and you will find that that equipment will be running all the time. Is it okay? So in this context, so many a time we face this sort of problem or this sort of the situations, and almost all the situations we say that the inventory is a necessary evil. Okay, so later on we will explore this concept further. Now there is a fixed asset. So what is this? This is the net plant and equipment, right? So that's the valuation. The valuation is done. There is a procedure. You can go for depreciations and all those. Right now I'm not discussing this point. Now this is equated with the current liabilities and the owner's equity. So the current liabilities, accounts payable, notes payable, accrued expenses, and current long-term debt. Is it okay? So that these are the 4 elements you have. Okay, 4 types of current liabilities, and then you have the long-term debt. Is it okay? So this is the long-term debt. So that is this one, right? So the owner's equity, you have the preferred stock, you have the common stock, okay, and you have the retained earnings, right? So this is the retained earnings you have. So at any point in time, the total assets is equated with the total liabilities and the owner's equity. Is it okay? So that's why it is called, it's a balance sheet. Now obviously there is one item which is directly related to inventory. Okay, so this we will explore to what extent I use the data or the information from the balance sheet to get an idea about the efficacy or the efficiency of inventory control systems. So now when you look at a typical profit and loss statement, what do you find? That the first one is the sales. Okay, there is one item I have not considered over here, that is the depreciation. So forget about the depreciation. So essentially depreciation will be there. So the first is the sales, then you have the direct material, direct labor and the factory overhead. So if you add all these three, it is called cost of goods sold. Is it okay? So then if you sales minus cost of goods sold, what you get? That's the gross profit. Then you have the selling expenses and administrative expenses. Is it okay? So if you add them, then you get total selling or administrative expense. This is just an example. Then so you have the operating income or operating profit. Is it okay? So that is basically the sales minus cost of goods sold minus the selling and administrative expenses. So this is called operating profit or operating income. Then you subtract the interest. Is it okay? And you get net income before taxes. Is it okay? So this one is essentially the net also the income before interest and the taxes. So now what do you find over here? This cost of goods sold is very much dependent on the kinds of inventory systems that you have. Okay, so this is the profit and loss statement. Now when you refer to the profit and loss statement as well as the balance sheet, you can identify the several kinds of financial ratios. Is it okay? In the host of financial ratios you refer to. So among these financial ratios, commonly used to measure the financial wealth of a company, these are closely linked to the inventory management. So there are many financial ratios you may be aware of. Now among all these ratios, these are the ratios which are closely linked with the inventory management system. So first one is the current ratio, current assets by the current liability. So the preferred value is it should be greater than or equals to 2. Quick ratio or acid test ratio, that means the current assets minus the inventory. That means inventory part I will it should be greater than at least greater than or equals to 1. So current is 1. So I will be meeting the liability part without the touching the inventory. So I want to check that whether you have reached that condition or not. Okay, so that is the quick ratio. It is also known as the acid test ratio. Then an important ratio is inventory turnover. Many a time, suppose the first time you want to get an idea about the quality of inventory control systems of a company. So at the aggregate level, you try to compute the value of this particular ratio for a given year. That is called the inventory turnover. So the cost of goods sold, I have already explained what is this cost of goods sold, and divided by the average inventory. It should be as high as possible. For example, in Toyota, inventory turnover may be as high as 80. Is it okay? It means what? That means how quickly you are transforming your raw materials through a series of steps of the operations to the finished goods. That means the manufacturing cycle time should be very, very less. So if you can reduce the manufacturing cycle time, is it okay? As well as the throughput time, if you can reduce it simultaneously, what will happen? That means the raw materials is getting converted in the finished goods quickly. So the inventory turnover should be as high as possible. And if the inventory turnover increases, what do you conclude about the company's performance? That means the company's the materials flow is maintained at a steady rate, it is increasing and its products are selling. And obviously you have a demand and the demand is supported, means increasing demand. That means is well supported by your inventory control systems. Throughput time is also very important. You refer to the diagram. Is it okay? Like say, the accumulation, the cost profile with respect to manufacturing systems I have already discussed. So this throughput time is the operating days per year divided by the inventory turnover. So these are the four the ratios you should be bothering about. So the inventory turnover and the throughput time are to be calculated and assessed for each type of inventory. For each type of inventory. That means for the raw materials, for the WIP, and for the finished goods. Is it okay? So it's a regular practice. It's a well adopted practice in the world. So now with respect to the data which I have given, is it okay? That's the representative, or the typical balance sheet and the loss statements. So we have computed these ratios. Like the current ratio, you find it is 2.81. That means this is acceptable. Quick ratio is current assets minus inventory divided by the current liabilities. It is slightly less than 1. So that is 0.94. So now what you need to do, that means whether you will be releasing some amount of money or the capital from the inventory. So that is to be decided. Inventory turnover, cost of goods sold by the inventory, it is 2.33. It's definitely, it's a good one, but further improvement is necessary. That means today the value is 2.33. What is your next target? If it is 5, then to what extent, you need to the change, or to what extent you need to improve your inventory control systems, that you have to look into. Is it okay? So in the stepwise manner you set the target, and always to achieve the target, what sort of the actions or what sort of the new decisions you have to take with respect to your inventory control systems is to be looked into. Similarly, the throughput time is 154.5. Can it be reduced? So that means the operating days per year, right? So if you can reduce it, it will have a the reflection on your improved inventory control systems. So in today's industrial context, JIT concept, just in time concept, as developed in Japanese organizations, just you make a note of these points. Now this JIT concept, as developed in Japanese organizations for many years, from the early 60s, the late 50s, they have been adopting the JIT based manufacturing systems as a part of the Toyota production systems or the TPS. So one of the important goals of the JIT based manufacturing system is to reach a goal of zero inventory. So now this concept needs to be applied wherever feasible in any manufacturing systems anywhere to develop the best possible inventory management systems in an organization. Is it okay? So there is a traditional approach. There is also a JIT based approach for inventory control. So we'll be referring to the JIT based approaches in detail in subsequent lecture sessions. Now if you adopt the JIT concept, there is an assurance of minimum waste, maximum turnover, and minimum cost of inventory. Is it okay? So it directly meets the requirements or the characteristics of an excellent inventory management systems. Organizational objectives such as profitability and market share are closely linked with how the manufacturing system is being run. Achieving a condition where minimum manufacturing lead time, maximum quality with minimum wastage, and minimum production cost are ensured. Okay. For assurance of such a condition, we need to analyze and control the existing inventory flow cycle within a manufacturing system. Okay, so I conclude this session with these comments.